views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
This show's audio was via a Skype call.
Synergenetic Living Radio is a conscious reality creation journey. Tune in as Rick and Grace Paris teach you the innovative approach and new philosophy that will shift your entire paradigm of what it is to be a human being. Synergenetic Living is a living, breathing, conscious experience. As a shaman for 20 years, Rick Paris has been guiding people to fuller existences since his first workshop in 1995. He is well-versed in a wide variety of healing arts, including being an Enneagram expert. Grace Paris serves Synergenetic Living clients powerfully and beautifully by embodying the fundamental role of a feedback provider, graciously guiding people to their own realizations and higher purposes. On this show, Rick and Grace will share with listeners the key to unlocking the infinite potential of human consciousness in order to create a life of preference. Learn to author your own destiny with Synergenetic Living Radio.
Aloha Friday, everyone. I am Grace Paris, and I'm here with my partner.
Hello.
And you're listening to Synergenetic Living Radio. Stay tuned with us for the next hour and let us help you experience a new philosophy, a new way to heal yourself, and a totally new approach to life. Each Friday on Synergenetic Living Radio, we'll have new and exciting solutions to everyday problems in this time of chaos and great change. Today, Rick and I are here to discuss intimacy, and I'm so excited to be here with you sharing this because this was one of the first talks I heard Rick give, and it changed my life completely. So you're in for a real treat. Where would you like to begin, hon?
Well, first I just want to say, in listening, if you've been listening to the shows, we talked about becoming an adult. Last week we talked about trust and what it is to trust and how to do that better. Well, intimacy is kind of a natural progression through that because you can't really be in an intimate relationship if you're not an adult and you don't trust. So trust is really the fulcrum that intimacy is built on. So without the ability to trust or understanding what trust is, you're going to have a tough time with intimacy. Same if you're not in an adult, spiritual adult, awakened adult, or, because we've talked in the past, most people, bodies are grown up and chronologically they're grown up, but they've never moved from adolescence to an adult. And until that's a conscious choice, I would argue that you're not one. You may be, but it's not very elegant to do if you don't understand how to do it and be able to make that conscious choice. So intimacy is a function of being an adult and wanting to establish something in a relationship that will continue the relationship to grow and grow and grow. Because intimacy ultimately is a biological, chemical reaction. Many people try to sell the idea of soulmates and, my twin flame and all this stuff, which is really a marketing capitalization on that. They really just marketed the whole thing. And whether they did it maliciously or not really doesn't matter. But what they really did was try to capitalize on this chemical reaction that you're having, because oftentimes in relationships, you realize I'm having this rush toward a relationship and a recoil. I back away from the relationship. I want to get close, and then I go back, and I get close, and I go back. And that's a function of not understanding what it is to be intimate and not understanding that your drive to be whole is what that is. And of course, right, you could turn that wholeness and say, oh, I need my better half or my other half. And, if you come in as a man or you come in as a woman into this experience, you have to be able to elevate the other side of yourself. for the men to find the woman in me, to find that feminine aspect of myself and integrate that in my own sense of wholeness. So because you've got this biological drive to be whole, intimacy is something you're always going to want. Now, a lot of people think intimacy means a sexual relationship. It is not, people think intimacy is a euphemism for sex. It's not really. You can get intimacy out of sex if you understand what intimacy is. And you can use sex as an expression of your intimacy, and it can be, but they're not inclusive. They're not mutually inclusive. Sex can be an expression of that intimacy, and intimacy can be an expression of sex. So a lot of people are confused because they think intimacy means sex. Oh, we're going to be intimate. We're so intimate. No, it really isn't. Intimacy is a process, really. And so I'm going to give you the steps and the qualities of intimacy, because intimacy is a vibration like anything else. And if you don't understand how to generate that vibration, you're not going to be able to generate intimacy. And so intimacy is it's a very complex, that's why you have to be an adult. It's very complex, and it has to be done with conscious choice. So intimacy, the other thing I want to mention is, when it comes to people, the population is like a third of the people want to be in a one-on-one forever relationship till I die, and then you've got a third of the population that wants to be in serial relationships, maybe a year, 2, 10 years down the line, but I can't imagine being one person for the rest of my life. And then you've got a third of the people that really don't even want to be in an intimate or sexual relationship with people. So, whatever group you're in the minority. So often people are in a particular group and they can't imagine how everybody else is in that other group. Well, there really is a lot of ways to be. And we're not really all here to have this one-on-one exclusive, do everything together kind of thing. So what is intimacy? Because that's what I'm going to talk about now. And the basic nut of it is what you're doing in a relationship with someone, if you're doing it well, is giving yourself the opportunity to learn how to be loving and understanding. Because most people, if you recognize the relationship, they want to be loved and they want to be understood. And that's where they have a problem, because you can't go for that and be in an intimate relationship. And you can't be measuring that, well, I'm being so intimate and they're not being intimate. I'm the one that's doing all the work and they're just out doing their own thing while I'm waiting home for them. That's not really intimacy. You're really not being intimate. Because if you're going to provide loving and understanding for somebody, and that's who they are, you need to do that joyfully and willingly. So there are 7 positions make up the synergy of what it is to be intimate. And the first position is the easiest position of all, and that's just to be open. To be open, and even when you meet someone, that's the easiest thing to do. Hey, hi, how are you? I'm Rick. What's your name? I'm open. I'm open. It's easy. And, of course, that's going to have to elevate however long that takes, but you're going to have to elevate being open. And the next place that you're going to move to while being open is to move into being closer. Closer, maybe physically, or just closer as a person, opening up, maybe talking about more things, finding more about each other, to be close. So to be open and close, those are relatively easy, and most people can do those 2 steps. The third step is where people start to have a problem, because as you go into a process, you have to condense the process to a willful position, and then the process opens up to an expansion after the choice was made. And like I said before, trust is the fulcrum. So trust is the deepest part of intimacy. The first 2 steps, like I said, open and close, that's pretty easy. People know how to do that.
Yeah, there's very little responsibility when meeting someone for the first time. It's very casual and open. So,
and easy to get close. A lot of times we can get open and close enough to have sex with someone in just a few short hours. But where intimacy starts to get more constricting, not constricting in the negative sense, but let's just say condensing. The relationship has to condense into something deeper, something more substance, needs more substance. And the third step is where that comes in, and realize not only are you open and close, but you are creating the environment for the other person to be open and close. Okay, so not only are you doing it yourself, you're creating the environment for them to be open and close. So the third position that you're going to move into, and again, this all sounds very static and but until you understand what intimacy is and you understand how to duplicate it and what it takes to do it, how are you really going to know you're doing it, right? It's like you might feel it one day and the next day, I'm not sure why I don't feel it. Well, if you understand all these stages to it and you're able to spin the plate, each plate, because they all move into each other, even though it sounds kind of static and whatnot at the beginning, anything is when you're first learning it. So the third step that you are going to be in is to be honest. And this is a very specific kind of honesty. You have to be vulnerably honest. You know, you have to expose your weakness. And, you know, of course, in a military perspective, that means to take advantage of, to find a weakness and take advantage of. And this isn't about that. This is to be strong enough to expose your weakness, to be able to look at somebody and say, hey, this is the kind of thing that's going to devastate me. This is the kind of thing that I can't live with. This is the kind of thing that I can't thrive in. And I'm going to tell you what they are in order for you to know. And some people might say, are you crazy doing that, right? Well, what you're doing is opening up and being honest with someone so they know what you need. They know what you might want in striving to be more whole. And so that takes understanding yourself, because if you don't trust yourself, if you're not an adult, you're not going to have the value system or the understanding of being intimate. You know, being intimate with yourself first is loving yourself and being understanding with yourself. And that enables you to better do it with another person. You know, you often hear, oh, people need to do that on their own. You need to do that first. Not really necessarily, but it goes a lot better when you do.
Yeah, I feel like it's quite the contrast of playing your hand close, you know, not exposing yourself. And
there's a fear of humiliation. And so part of intimacy is removing that fear of humiliation from yourself and to help the other. But we're going to go on break right now, and we'll be back in a minute. Stay tuned.
Are you ready to stop stress, anxiety, and low self-esteem from running your life? Join award-winning author Dr. Friedemann Schaub for Empowerment Radio and learn breakthrough solutions to switch out of survival mode and approach every day with great ease, joy, and purpose. Tune in the first and third Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific to Empowerment Radio with host Dr. Friedemann Schaub on Transformation Talk Radio. Visit thefearandanxietysolution.com to learn more.
Calling all moms, it's time to awaken your vibrant, intuitive, loving self in every area of your life. Join host Debbie Pokornik as she shares thoughts, stories, and tools to help you stand in your power. Listen to Vibrant, Powerful Moms helping everyday women create extraordinary lives. Mondays at 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. For more information about Debbie, visit empoweringenergy.com. That's empowering with letters NRG.com.
What is a brilliant culture, and how do we create them? Why are they important? Claudette Rowley has created a breakthrough 5-step process to help you align your culture with your business strategy for exceptional results. Looking for a culture that drives organizational excellence? Listen to Cultural Brilliance Radio, the second and fourth Friday of each month at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern on Transformation Talk Radio. To learn more or work with Claudette, visit culturalbrilliance.com.
Tune in to The Jen Royster Show, intuitive guidance to inspire your life, each Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. This amazing show is an inspirational hour that will take you on an epic metaphysical journey to discover the spiritual approach to life's greatest challenges. Dr. Jen is an internationally known intuitive counselor, spiritual teacher, and energy healer. Call in for intuitive readings and visit JenRoyster.com for more information.
Are you searching? Looking for a sign? A message you need to hear? From the great unknown, from the most mysterious place that is the most familiar to your soul in the depths of who you are. The universe put someone here to talk to, someone God gave a blessing to, that you may find insight with. TheAngelLady.net, 1-800-323-1790.
Are you stuck in unhealthy habits, toxic relationships, or low self-esteem? Do you crave a life of inspiration, love, self-acceptance, and fun? Sounds like you're on the verge to your next big thing. Join Laura Richer, host of On the Verge Radio, helping you use your breakdown for a breakthrough, overcome life's greatest challenges, and live the life you want and deserve. Tune in each month on Transformation Talk Radio or visit SeattleHealingHypnosis.com for more information.
Hey, we're back on Synergenetic Living Radio. We left off talking about being vulnerably honest, the qualities of creating intimacy. And that's kind of where it starts getting a little sticky for people, is that vulnerable honesty.
Which is a requirement. You know, you have to let them know you. And the more that you let them know you, the more they have a chance to respond appropriately to you. And that comes out of your own self-love. When you understand yourself well enough to be like, hey, this is where I could be manipulated. This is what could really hurt me. You know, I'm giving them the opportunity and the understanding how not to hurt me. And to know, I know these things about me. If it happens, I also know how to deal with it. I'm strong enough and I love myself enough to expose that and also know how to deal with that. So I'm powerful and I value myself, you know, and that's where you want to be. You want to be open, close, and vulnerably honest. And those, if you're get down there, you're doing really well. Because a lot of times, to be vulnerably honest, if I don't trust, this is where it gets, the next step in the process is trust. And where people get stuck with trust is when they don't, if they can't be vulnerable and honest, they're not going to be trustworthy. They're not going to do that. And the reason you're not trusting and you're not vulnerably honest leads us into the next step, which is to be loving. Because why wouldn't I trust myself? Why don't I trust myself? Because I'm not really being loving. I'm not loving myself and understanding my own weaknesses and my own strengths. So trust, which we did a whole show on that last week, has its own situations and its own components in order to know that you're being trusting. Because again, people say, well, you just got to trust. And if you don't understand how to trust and you don't learn how to do that, you're not going to do it better. So again, check out the show last week if you think you want to understand a deeper understand trust on a deeper level. So the fourth position, the most willful position in intimacy, is being trusting and trustworthy. And so if you can't do that, there's just no way you're going to be intimate. No matter how good you are at being vulnerable, close, and open, if you really can't trust, you're not going to be loving. You're not really going to be vulnerably honest if you don't trust. Because as you can see, how would I be able to do that? I'm just not going to feel good about it, right? And it is the most important aspect. And it's a powerful, powerful tool in relationship. It really has the capacity to deepen a relationship. It has the capacity to ground the relationship in a strength.
Yeah, it feels like every time Rick and I reach a pinnacle, that's what we go for, is trust. It's like, okay, I need you to trust me deeper. I need you to trust me. And
yeah, I need this now. I recognize in my own growth, I need this. And I'm asking you to trust me more.
And it always takes us to that next level. It's quite phenomenal.
And see, intimacy doesn't freeze. Intimacy is a living, growing part of your relationship. It's like when we teach clients about their relationships, what we're teaching them is it's two individuals creating this garden, and we both take care of it. Maybe I like to water and fertilize, and maybe you like to pull the weeds, and we do what we do to enrich this thing called a relationship. And intimacy is what the relationship feeds on ultimately. Ultimately, it's what makes you. And since wholeness is something you're never going to completely attain wholeness. So the relationship with an intimate relationship has the capacity to keep generating a greater sense of wholeness. It has a greater sense, because what really people are afraid of is once you start being intimate and really loving and understanding someone else in order to be understanding and loving, to be from the adult and not be primarily looking to be loved and to be understood, is it opens you to this magic, because you start being someone, excuse me, that you didn't imagine. I didn't imagine I would love someone like this, because, a lot of people go, that's how I love. I do this. That's the way I show my love. Well, if the love isn't communicating to that person, you're going to have to find another way to show them love. And if you don't understand them, how are you going to know what adjustments to make? How are you going to understand? You just don't go outside and water the plants every day. Some plants only need to be watered once a week. They die when they get too much water. And so you've got to pay attention to the individual. And again, if you're really loving them and watching what nurtures them and contributing in that way, you're going to see them thrive. And as they thrive, they're going to be more open and vulnerable themselves. And then they're going to want to express the things that they hadn't expressed yet, because they're going to feel so good being loved the way that you're doing that. And that's why the fifth step after trust, once I'm open, once I'm close, once I've told my dirty secrets to this person, I've opened up everything, and I trust myself that I'm going to be loved back. I'm not going for that, because the relationship is offering me an opportunity to nurture a garden. It isn't about getting them to nurture me, because the child's ego, when you know that you're stuck in your child and it's arrested, when our child in us early on didn't get enough, and most kids don't get enough, so everybody's got to deal with this to some degree. But some people, you could say, I get people all the time, oh my God, I'm always dating narcissists. If we don't understand why we're dating the narcissist and what we're trying to get, because many times when I hear somebody say, I'm dating a narcissist, it's basically because I'm doing all this loving stuff and they're not loving me at all. Well, that tells you the only reason I'm doing all this stuff is to get love and get understanding, to be understood, rather than just keep giving it. Relationships aren't 50-50. They're 100-100. You have to take 100% of the responsibility for the reality you're having. If you're really loving and being understanding and it's not coming back, it's not a function of the other person. It's a function of you not receiving. It's a function of you maybe not being honest and vulnerable enough with yourself to understand what you need and to be able to ask for what you need. And you will do that. When you're being loving to yourself, you're going to do that naturally, because you've already understood trust. And I do trust myself. I don't need them to be loving and understanding of me, although I want to receive that for sure. But if you're going after the other person and making sure that they're doing it, you're into control. And that's the antithesis to love. You really can't be in control and love somebody. So the fifth position is loving. After you're open, close, vulnerably honest, trusting, and loving, what's going to happen is you're going to really care. You're really going to start caring about the relationship, how it lives, how it breathes, how it functions. What do I need to do to make sure that I keep creating a place for this person to rely? You know, and the adolescent in us is like, well, when do I get mine? I'm the one that's always doing. Since the child ego is stuck in, am I getting enough? That's where the narcissism comes from. Well, the adolescents were the super dysfunctional, self-importance is what I'm trying to say. I'm important too, and I need to be felt. As long as a person's coming from that position, you're really in control still. You're not caring. You're not being a caring person about them. You're more worried. You're caring for yourself. But caring for yourself isn't require somebody else to do something. It's doing it for yourself. And when you're really doing all that, what's going to happen is you're going to understand how to create the environment for an intimate relationship. And that's when you start receiving the benefit of intimacy. Because like I was saying earlier, what's really scares people from intimacy is the magic. Because if you're really being intimate with someone, you're going to be different, and you're going to be different and changed in a way that you had no idea. You're going to find strengths inside. You're going to find you're going to be challenged to move yourself in positions of being a loving person that I never would have dreamed I'd be doing this. You know, I never would have dreamed I could do this until I was loving somebody else. The patience that you can find in yourself, the security, the virtues that you will find in love. The last step of being a loving, intimate person, creating intimacy, is to be private. This is where a lot of women have a big breakdown here, because women are most of the times intimate with their girlfriends, and intimate in a way that they don't have a boundary between the intimacy between my girlfriend and the intimacy between my main love focus, let's say, because it doesn't have to be. It can be man or woman.
Your romantic partner.
Your romantic partner, yeah. I'm a little lost for words today. So privacy is important because it's like having a private garden that you guys are going through. You're not out showing everybody and telling everybody what you planted and what you did, because you're nurturing it together. And since an intimate relationship has to, my words are not coming to me today. You're trying to create the environment for a person to feel that they won't be humiliated. They won't be judged.
Right. You're trying to produce a sense of security, safety. You're trying to diminish the fears of being humiliated, rejected, abandoned. You know, all of those.
That's part of what you're doing for the other.
And that's really what creating intimacy and being loving is about. It's like putting yourself
yourself second, but knowing when it's time to put yourself first. It's a paradox. You can't be first. They can't be first. They're always first because you're going for the relationship. And that's going to scare a lot of people. We're going to go on break and we'll be back just a minute. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show, talk radio to thrive by. I am so thrilled to be talking to all of you. We have got talk radio for all of us. Are you ready and willing and able to accept all of the abundance you can muster up in your life? Check us out, thedrpatshow.com, transformationtalkradio.com, transformationradio.fm. Oh my goodness.
Take your own journey with the angels with Claire Candy Huff's Heaven Sent Guided Angel Meditation CD, letting go of concerns and living in the now. This beautiful CD walks listeners through practical exercises to help free them from the burdens, worries, and concerns of daily life.
Walking a quarter of the way across the bridge, you see a bright, emerald green light and sense a loving presence. This is Archangel Raphael's green healing energies, nourishing and revitalizing you. Take a moment now to bathe in this green healing light.
Giving you much more than just relaxation and stress release, this wonderfully narrated CD provides vivid visualization, soothing and inspiring music, and an angel's choir that will bring you peace, clarity, and a newfound awareness. Visit angelhealinghouse.com today.
Thrive is what we experience when our mind, body, and soul operate as one. When we thrive, we excel on all levels. Thrive is the mindset that matters. It is essential to our being. Have you ever found yourself looking for the instruction manual on how to thrive? You'll find everything you need to help you feel strong, powerful, and peaceful in your own body. So don't waste any more time. Visit thrivebyjen.com today.
A word of caution: if you prefer the status quo and you are not interested in improving every aspect of your life, this book will trigger the shift out of you. The Truth is Funny, Shift Happens is available now. Author Colette Steffen brings the powerful knowledge and life-changing energy and empowerment from the radio airwaves to the pages of her new book. To get your copy in paperback or ebook, visit thetruthisfunny.com today.
On the cutting edge of the new mainstream, Christine Upchurch is passionate about bringing together science, psychology, and spirituality in a way that can be applied to our everyday lives for true transformation. The Christine Upchurch Show, stellar conversations to illuminate your journey, engages some of the most outstanding visionaries on the planet in lively dialogue to inspire you to become that bright light you're meant to be. Join Christine every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time on KKNW, AM 1150, and Transformation Talk Radio.
Hey, you're tuned into Synergenetic Living Radio. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about intimacy and how to consciously generate and sustain it. Before we dive back in, check us out on the web, www.synergeneticliving.com. Like us on Facebook.
Yeah, and if you wanted to call in, 800-930-2819. Anyway, so we were just leaving off on privacy, and this is one of the trust is the most challenging part of intimacy. Vulnerably honest is one of the biggest limiters in being intimate. And one of the most difficult parts to understand is when you're creating an environment for somebody not to feel rejected, not to feel humiliation, to reduce fear in their life so that they won't be humiliated and rejected. You have to stay private. You can't be telling people your business. Now, that doesn't mean you can't talk to your girlfriends or whatever about privacy or your friends, but you can't be explicit. You can't tell, I can't believe they keep doing this, blah, 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 right? Because what happens is, and everybody's felt this, if you aren't doing these 7 things, you aren't being intimate. You can't leave out any of these. You can't leave out any of the 7 positions. And the last one is the easiest one to drop. But if you ever notice where you had a problem and maybe you were arguing and you went to work and it's been on your mind and you talk to people at lunch about it and you come back home at the end of the day and all of a sudden you get into the conversation again and you're feeling really strong and full of yourself because my friends all told me what I should be doing.
Yeah, you have all these newfound awarenesses and a whole new game plan.
And the other person's just looking at it like, and oftentimes they say, well, who are you talking to? You talked to your mother today, didn't you? I could tell by the acting. Because the intimacy got dumped out. And now the other person feels separating because you didn't leave off on the same space and you open the relationship. You open that to somebody else instead of really saying, look, I have to figure this out with them on my own, not figure it out away from them, then come back and tell them how it's going to be. And so often at times that feeling connected when you get back home to talk about it is a function of, I say, dumping the bowl of intimacy out. How you're building all this trust, building all this honesty, this loving, being caring, and then you go out and you just tell somebody else all about it and dump it right out on the floor. And so you come home and the other person, first thing they're going to feel is the intimacy. The lack of intimacy is what you're really experiencing when now you're not connected when you come back to it. So really understanding that. Open, honest, vulnerably honest, right? Open, close, vulnerably honest, trusting, loving, caring, and private. And so there's two reasons really that we rush towards intimacy. One of the reasons we rush toward it, and I mentioned it earlier, is it's a chemical reaction. It's a chemical desire for you to become more and more whole. And so that's what I was saying. A lot of people market this twin flame thing around this. And it's just, and they may, I'm not saying those people don't understand or don't believe it, but that's not what you're really after. You're after for your own wholeness. And when you come in as a man or you come in as a woman, there's a whole other gender that lives inside you that needs to be incorporated consciously. Because I got the free ride. I'm a woman, and I get what it is to be a woman. But how do I integrate the man in me? And what kind of man am I? And the same for men. What kind of feminine, what kind of woman is in me? You know, if I'm going to be sweet and vulnerable and open and gentle and loving, it's like, that's the woman in me that I'm learning how to express. And that's the wholeness that you're really looking for. So all consciousness strives to be whole. It's a biological urge. And what intimacy does, it provides the vehicle for that feeling of wholeness. And again, if you're like, well, I'm a serial person, you know, you're still going to be in intimate relationships one after another. And if you're a person that's like, I'm not into that at all, excuse me, I'm not into that at all, you're still going to be intimate with something. Maybe you're intimate with a business. Maybe you're intimate with a pet, an animal. You're still going to be intimate. Like if I'm intimate with my business, I'm still going to be open. I'm still going to be close with my business, vulnerably honest. I'm going to be honest with how my business is doing. I'm not going to tell everybody all about my business and how my business, you hear people say all the time, I don't need to tell them about my business. That's my business, and truthfully, there is parts of yourself that needs to be kept private until you're going to be intimate with another person. Maybe you are intimate with your business with one other person, but you need to follow that map if you're going to develop intimacy. And what you're really after is, you don't want to humiliate the woman in you if you're a man. You don't want to humiliate the man in you if you're a woman. You're trying to encourage those to come out. You're trying to encourage those to be fully expressed. The other thing that people tend to do is they like the idea of these, but they don't want to do them because it's just too scary. It's just too scary to do all this stuff. So I want to rush toward it because it's awesome. And you see people rush toward the intimacy. I want to be in a relationship. And then I'm open, I'm close, and then when it comes time to be honest, I backpedal. And what happens is people go into this relationships where they get stuck. And you can tell, we get close, and then we get in a big fight.
Yeah, it's a big push-pull.
And that's that push-pull, that recoil. I'm either going to rush towards, and then I'm going to recoil. And I'm going to give you what those recoils are so you can be a little more aware of the qualities of a recoil. So I'm like, oh, that's the one I do, right? So this rush towards is to rush toward the quality of being loving. And I see that, and you can feel the opportunity that the relationship brings. It's the opportunity for wholeness. And if I'm really too afraid, I'm going to rush and go. I'm going to rush and go. And that's what happens. And then people get frustrated, like, I just want to be close, and I just keep starting over. So we'll be open, we'll be close, and maybe even loving and caring to a certain degree. But, I'm not going to trust. I just can't do it. I just can't do it. So what I'll do is get in an argument and then see if after the argument we get close again. Oh, so I get in an argument and then we have great sex and I feel close again. So I start over. I'm open, I'm close. And when it comes time to trust, I blow it up and then we have great makeup sex. That's the kind of pattern that happens when you're just afraid that the qualities are nice, but I'm just too afraid. I'm just, and I don't even know why. And again, we've taught people and we teach people, your fears are your North Compass. So if you're in a relationship and you have fears around the relationship, it's such an opportunity to grow. Because behind that fear, when you go through that fear, you're going to find a gift of yourself you didn't know, the courage that you might have, or the vulnerability that you actually might have, but you're going to find a gift once you go through the fear. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for power in relationship. We're not looking to be disempowered. We're not going to look to be less. And being less is not a function of what they do. It's how do I receive and how do I create the environment to make sure they're not rejected, they're not humiliated, they're not afraid. I want to take that fear of loss away, because love's greatest pain is loss, right? The greatest pain is loss. And love's greatest fear is separation. I'm so afraid to be separate. And so you have to keep that in mind when you're going for love. Those are going to be the two greatest fears around love itself. And so I have to know, I have to go when I'm feeling like I want to run away and not do what I need to do, and I want to separate. I have to know I'm afraid right now. I got to go for love. I got to go for love right now, because that's the opportunity where you're going to gain the most bang from your buck. You're going to get the most mileage out of responding appropriately in those moments. And the thing about it is, when you're in love, there is a paradox at play. Like Marianne Williamson, she has this quote you see up all the time about, oh, you're either in a state of love or you're in a state of fear. That's not what it is. Love and fear are equal states, not equal states, equanimity. They're always together. You never are in love without fear. And when you go for more fear, the first thing you're afraid of is that loss or separation. I could be humiliated. I could be rejected, being this honest. I have herpes and I don't want to tell them. And so I'm afraid of that loss. And so what happens is I back away and I have to hide. And what happens, I'm not trusting. I'm not being vulnerable. And now I'm feeling guilty in the relationship. I'm afraid of being rejected and humiliated. I'm afraid of being ashamed. And so those are the things you're going to be dealing with. So when you're being intimate, you're always going to find something to be afraid of. And the better you get at going through those fears, the better you understand that I just keep picking up my strengths while I'm in love, while I'm being intimate. And that's ideally what you want. You want to be a more whole, loving, understanding person. Really, that's a big main underlying objective, whether you consciously realize that or not. But you really are going for being understanding and loving and being whole. And intimacy is exactly the avenue that you want to do that. It's the avenue. It offers you the opportunity to do that. And so I can't recommend it enough, and once I really understood this, it was like all my relationships changed. Some relationships end up ending, and that happens because once you start creating a loving environment for someone and you're really going, you want to receive it. Now you're not controlling and demanding it because you're getting the opportunity to be a loving person, but you also want to receive it. And so I often work with people with receiving. It's not about, I should ask for what I want, be vulnerably open and ask for what I want. But what I'm really looking for is to give and to receive. So anyway, we're going to take a break and we'll be back in a moment. Stay tuned.
Calling all moms, it's time to awaken your vibrant, intuitive, loving self in every area of your life. Join host Debbie Pokornik as she shares thoughts, stories, and tools to help you stand in your power. Listen to Vibrant, Powerful Moms helping everyday women create extraordinary lives. Mondays at 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. For more information about Debbie, visit empoweringenergy.com. That's empowering with letters NRG.com.
Is traditional medicine not working for you? Do you still feel as if your health isn't 100%? Here at the Holistic Medical Center, Dr. Nushin Darvish and the qualified staff look through the dimensions of wellness and start a healing plan prioritized to your needs. Our physicians assess the whole you until complete health is achieved. Get the help you need by visiting drdarvish.com or call 425-451-0404.
Do you know how to achieve wellness in all areas of your life? Hi, I'm Mary Jane Mack. Signs of wellness are a capacity to love and ability to nurture, a sense of purpose, a good sense of humor and plenty of fun in your life, a concern for others and a respect for the environment, a conscious commitment to personal excellence, a sense of balance and integrated lifestyle, and capacity to cope with whatever life presents. Well, people enjoy their lives and want them to last as long as possible. That's why the wellness mindset usually accompanies other constructive, healthy lifestyle habits. By adopting a wellness mindset and behaviors like eating well, taking the right nutrition for the body, exercising, and saying affirmations are just a few things to structure a healthy system of values and beliefs. I will be your wellness coach to help you achieve a wellness lifestyle. Call us at 888-777-4232. That's 888-777-4232. And visit us at maryjanemack.com.
Conscious Confidence Radio, a timeless wisdom with Sarah Main. Tune in each month on Transformation Talk Radio and join Sarah on an adventurous journey to the deeper level of meaning to move beyond today's world of constant change, confusion, and uncertainty beyond the shadow of fear. This hit show explores key concepts such as confidence, values, and attitude in a dynamic way. To learn more about Sarah and her work, visit sarahmain.com.
Defining success and putting minds to work. With the Higher Learners Career and Leadership Series, Rudy Racine will help you craft your personal definition of success, offering support and guidance as you move forward towards your goals. Take the leap. With the right mix of focus and motivation, anything can be achieved. Tune in every first and third Monday at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 Eastern, and for more information on Rudy Racine and Higher Learners, visit Rudy's site at higherlearners.com. That's HIRE learners.com.
Hey everyone, we're back on Synergenetic Living Radio, and where we left off was talking about receiving through intimacy. And really, it's receiving the effects that your love has on another person, to see them grow and change because you've created this beautiful environment for them. And I think that can be scary in of itself. I know for me personally, it's like I was hesitant to even enter certain relationships because I didn't want to change. And so there really does have to be a willingness to grow and change.
And that's the thing, you're really in it to be more loving and understanding, and to learn who you are and how you give in a relationship. That's the meat of it, But your wholeness is a desire, and oneness is a decision. That's why you have to be to an adult position to know my sense of oneness is a decision that I make. It's an understanding beliefs precede my experience. It isn't about the other person giving that to me or making that so, right? And like I was saying earlier, I don't know if I finished with the Marianne Williamson quote, is you're in love or fear. You're always in both. And you're navigating that fine line between both, because if you don't feel fear in your relationship, you've just plateaued and have created the environment to not be afraid.
Right, it's a paradox.
It's a paradox, and that's where the real power is balancing between the paradox of those two pieces, not trying to eliminate one over the other, because you can't. You really can't. So the magic that happens is when two people are doing an intimate relationship, because now both people are turning into somebody they didn't understand, and you're following a specific map that is creating more wholeness in your life, and the relationship is the vehicle for that wholeness. So what happens is you start finding things about yourself that you didn't even know were there, and the relationship becomes more and more power map, because the real value is the relationship. It's the two things, the sum of the parts creating a greater position, the third. It's a synergy that between two people's, this relationship, and it has to be respected and honored and deeply valued. And it's not about them and it's not about me, but it's about us doing this one thing together.
And that's what you end up really trusting. It's like
you trust the relationship.
Right. When you're consciously going for this intimacy and being with another, it's like,
I know how they're going to act. I know what they're going to say when I bring this. I know what's going to happen.
Right. And so that way you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have these unrealistic expectations of the person. It allows you to be human, and it's so beautiful because you're like, it's okay for that person to make a mistake because I trust the relationship. I know they're going to come back and we're going to work it out and we're going to be even stronger because of it.
So what you're ideally doing is providing those 7 positions for another and create that they can optimally feel those 7 things. And you be intimate with yourself so you can experience those 7 things. That's what you're doing in a relationship. So I want to talk really quickly about some of the reasons that maybe you can identify with and see what blockage might keep me away from greater intimacy. And again, if you really think intimacy and sex are synonymous, they're not. So they're 2 different things. If you've got that confused, you're not really going to understand intimacy is anything but sexuality. And intimacy is an entirely different thing. So if you're really mixing those 2 words together, that in itself is a problem. And some people, that's it. They just think sex is intimacy. I have intimate relationships with this person, right? But it's not. They're not the same thing. So that might be a place to recoil. If you're self-centered, narcissistic, self-important, that kind of thing, that's going to keep you from being intimate because you don't trust yourself and you're not being vulnerable. So if you're trying to have a relationship with somebody who's narcissistic, of course you want to heal your own unconscious narcissist coming through in that person. And oftentimes it takes a narcissist to know one. And the reason we are with one is enable to us to recognize that we are one. You wouldn't be with one if you weren't really looking to heal that. And it's a pretty intense thing to want to heal. And it's the best thing to want to heal because narcissism will keep you away from wholeness. So your negative ego cannot be included in intimacy. And that's another thing that comes up, right? I can't be in my negative ego and be in an intimate place. So it is another place where your negative ego gets processed and gets realized in a way that I can listen to it and utilize it better appropriately. That's another talk that we do on the ego. Another place that you can be stuck is projecting the past. You know, a lot of people, I got hurt so bad. I was so open and so vulnerable and so honest, and I just got ripped. And so, you know, you have to make up for that. You know, you want other people's actions to change your experience rather than you understanding belief precedes experience. And I have to change my belief if I want this pattern to change. And so it's a control mechanism. Well, I got hurt and they lied to me. So therefore you got to jump through hoops before I'm ever going to trust you. And what that does is it creates a dynamic that I can't be intimate if I'm going to be doing that.
That is such a powerful realization for someone to have.
Yeah, a lot of people really are like wanting another person's actions. You change my idea about what this is rather than me changing my idea. Yeah, prove it. Prove it, and then I'll think about it.
Yeah, maybe I'll change. So yeah, this is big.
It's also like a guarantee. You know, until you can guarantee me to come back out of my shell, and which, you know, parentheses, the adolescent means perfect, until you can love me perfectly, don't expect me to do anything because I've been hurt, right? That's another big manipulation. Another is just fearing the qualities of those 7. If you look at those 7 places and there's a fear in one of them, like the vulnerability, like I'm a guy and, you know, I just can't cry. I can't be overly sweet and I'm not going to do it. I mean, it's just too scary. You know, if you're afraid of one of those qualities, of course, if you unplug one of those qualities, you don't have the environment, you don't have the resonance anymore that creates the environment for intimacy. So you're not going to be intimate if you're afraid of any of those qualities. You have to be the adult, and we talk about that on another recording. You have to become an adult to truly be in an intimate relationship, because otherwise you're looking for understanding and you're looking to be loved. And those are positions of the child and adolescent. Another place, people don't have the discernment. I have 500 intimate friends. You cannot have many intimate friends. If you're really going to be open, vulnerable, and trusting in life, you cannot do it with everybody. You have to pick some people and do it with them because they'll take up so much of your time. I got to know what you're doing, how you're feeling during the day, every day, because I'm trying to be close, loving. I'm trying to pay attention. You can't like talk to people once a week and think you're intimate. You're not. So that's another place, having the discernment to choose. If you're in self-pity, you can't be in self-pity and be intimate with someone. That's another place. There's no room for self-pity in a relationship. That's the child and the adolescent again. If you're afraid, again, another fear of just basic humiliation and rejection. Which, that's part of being vulnerably honest. It's in there, but it's slightly different. I might be afraid to be honest, but really the reason I'm not honest is I'm really afraid to be rejected. I'm afraid to be humiliated. And if you're afraid to be rejected or humiliated, you're not going to be honest. You're not going to be trusting, and you're not going to be intimate. But those are the places where people usually get stuck, And just remember, the magic is when both people get this and do it. And both people don't really have to do it for you to have a good relationship, although you will likely receive it. You will start creating it just by you being that way. Lots of times people will naturally want to love you too. They're going to feel so good. And if you can articulate to them, they'll want to do it because they're looking for wholeness too. You have anything to add to that?
No.
So remember, intimacy is a vehicle for wholeness. It's a vehicle to be understanding and loving. It's a vehicle for magic when it's done with another. And remember, everybody's looking for intimacy and more intimacy. You're never going to, and if you just keep working this model, you will just keep finding intimacy. It'll never end. So thanks for listening. I hope you learned something positive today for your relationships.
Yes, it's always a joy. Join us every Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. Have an awesome week, and we'll see you back here
next Friday. Bye.
Tune in on Transformation Talk Radio for the latest on Synergenetic Living Radio with Rick and Grace Paris. Learn how to get clear on the life you desire. Synergenetic Living is a living, breathing, conscious experience. Rick and Grace will teach you the art of utilizing the future to create the now with a sense of artistic and absolute power, having dominion without domination. For more information on Rick and Grace Paris and Synergenetic Living, or to download an episode of Synergenetic Living Radio, visit synergeneticliving.com.